Hello everyone and welcome back to this humble abode of gameplay and memes. Today I once again bring you another Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever replay cast. This time a little bit more interesting in terms of the rank points, because unlike the previous game where we were looking at mostly Joes, or not mostly, just Joes I should say, this time we will be looking at people who are very much closer to the pro side of things. But yes, without further ado, let's go and start introducing our team members. Starting with Team 1, in the green corner, we've got ourselves on the right flank frontal position. It's Tex at 2200 rank points, so the highest rank in this particular match, actually the star player, so to speak, and quite an old veteran Supreme Commander player, from what I know, or at least FAF player, for sure. Yes, playing Seraphim in combat green, going first land. On the middle position, on the middle frontal position I should say, we've got ourselves Saipier at 1600 rank points, a member of the clan ANZ, which stands for people who don't know, stands for Australian New Zealand. Yes, 1600 rank points, playing UEF in lurid green, going first to land. On the frontal left position, we've got ourselves TheWreck at 1800 rank points, playing UEF, also in Cyanide Cyan, and going first to land just as well as I'm sure everybody else in this game is going to. Meanwhile, on the position that is somewhere in the middle between the front and the back, I think we should call this the halfback position, we have BlueDocking at 1200 rank points, which is the lowest rank for this particular match, playing Aeon in electric blue and going first land and building it right next to the hydrocarbon power plant spot, so really worried about the power consumption in the early game. And last but not least, for Team 1, on the rearguard position, which I assume is going to be the air position, we've got Freshy at 1400 rank points, playing Seraphim in Halibor and Orange, going first to land. And no doubt we'll be building an air factory and upgrading that ASAP. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the world, on Team 2, in the yellow corner, on the frontal right flank position, we've got ourselves RowanMorseYT at 1900 rank points, the highest of Team 2, well tied with with another player I will describe shortly, playing UEF in mellow yellow, going first to land. In the middle frontal position, front and center I could say, we've got Orb. Nothing super fancy, just Orb. Playing Seraphim at 1700 rank points, wearing the extremely fashionable and extremely fierce Ferrari red, and going first to land. On the frontal left flank position, we've got Sovietpride, the other highest ranking team member of Team 2. Yes, at 1900 rank points, of course, also playing UEF, just like his counterpart on the other flank, and also going first to land, except building it in a slightly different position. Well, of course, I mean, everybody will build everything at different positions, that should not be a surprise. On the halfback position of Team 2, we've got ourselves MaximusXXX, just like the other halfback from the other team, interestingly enough, the lowest ranking player on this particular team, and also playing Aeon, and also going first land, except yes, playing in baby blue, which is, you know, a pretty nice color, not my favorite, but I can definitely appreciate it somewhat. And last but not least, for Team 2 and for this particular match, we've got ourselves Quasor, or Quasor, or Quasor. If you are watching this video, please let me know how to pronounce your name properly. I am absolutely dying to know. Playing Cybran at 1400 rank points, just like his rival on the opposite side of the map. Yes, playing Cybran. But yeah, the 1400 rank points part is like the opposite side, of course, okay? Cybran isn't. Playing Cybran in quintessential purple and going first to land, and also no doubt will be constructing an air factory as soon as possible. Now that we've introduced all of our players, it is time to talk about the map. This map is a randomly generated map created by the Neroxis Map Generator, which is a unique feature that was introduced in Forged Alliance Forever, and quite recently at that. I think it might not even be 2 years old at this point, though don't quote me on that. I'm sure somebody in the comment section will correct me. Yes, this map has 25,000 reclaim in total on it, most of which is scattered either around the middle plateau or next to the bases of the air players, giving them some convenience in quickly building up their Tech 3 air factory. And, rushing out those planes and securing air superiority as fast as possible. It should also be noted there are some civilian buildings in the middle. These are, yes, Cybran, whatever, Cybran Manufacturing Center, Cybran's administrative structures, blah blah blah. There are 4 points like this on the map. Of course, all juicy reclaim. A whole bunch of reclaim in those as well. And yes, the plateau is also noteworthy because it only has 2 access points. Both of them near the opposing... Yes, both of them near the starting locations of the players. Of course, by access points, I mean only access points from land. Of course, you can also airdrop anywhere on these. There is no, there is no defense against that. But interestingly enough, even though the plateau does offer some tactical advantage, it should be noted that there are only 2 massive structures on it in total. So you might want to claim that, but ultimately, you won't be protecting everything valuable. You will merely be threatening your opposition, which is useful, but no, not as useful as threatening them and protecting something valuable at the same time. Anyway, we've got our commanders, of course, on both sides moving towards the middle, trying to secure the expansions, which this map does offer a plenty. You can see this little spot with 4 mass extractor points. Almost every frontal player has access to it. Actually, scratch that, every frontal player has access to a spot like this. So they will be more than happy to run out and secure them as quickly as possible before, the opposition tries to come in and destroy these. Interestingly enough, the players towards the southern side are using their commanders to expand there, while, for example, TheWreck is only using the 1 engineer to build up all the mass extractors. The engineer did not die, which is, I suppose, TheWreck is really happy about that. But I wouldn't gamble on that if I were him. Although TheWreck clearly knows his stuff better than I am, considering he is 1800 and I'm 12. So there is that. Already has 4 land factories, the 5th one queued up. The first air engagements are happening. It's mostly just interceptors shooting down scouts. So nothing special as of yet. People will be building, amassing land forces, trying to claim as much territory as they possibly can. And we've got our first upgrades rolling out as well. Tech's already working on gun speed and range on his Seraphim commander, which is, the primary weapon upgrade, of course. Doubles the rate of fire of your commander, as well as increases its range by approximately 35% from what I remember. On the opposite side, Sovietpride is going for a similar upgrade, except instead of doubling the rate of fire, this one doubles the damage output of your gun. Increases the damage per shot by 100, which will allow the UEF commander to destroy the opposing Aurora tanks in 1 hit, which is kind of relevant in this game because you've got Aeon on both sides, so we will no doubt see some of these Aurora tanks at some point, and the UEF commander is really good at dealing with those because 1 shot takes care of 1 Aurora. Similarly, Saipier on his own UEF commander is going for the exact same kind of upgrade, and no doubt Orb is going to be going for one as well. At almost 6 minutes into the game, Sovietpride is the first to complete his upgrade. Tex, meanwhile, might be having some serious power issues. Man, you gotta fix those sometime soon. I guess he's overestimated his power output in comparison to the amount of factories that are currently producing. He's already working with 7. Probably even more on the front line as well. Well, yes, there is 1 more on the front line. Not upgrading to Tech 2 quite yet. I'm actually interested to see if anybody in this game goes fast Tech 2 land. So far it doesn't look to be this way. Saipier has quite a different idea from his teammates on the southern side, actually building the factories on the front line. Now, of course, this does mean that the troops will be delivered a lot faster towards the front line when the factories are already there. But on the downside, the factories are quite vulnerable. If his commander was absent from there, he could very easily lose those factories. You know, if Orb came in with his own commander. Orb, however, has even more land production also on the front line, so they're kind of tied in that. Very interesting considering, you know, considering big differences between Tex and Sovietpride. It's very interesting to see that both Saipier and Orb had the same idea. Now, Saipier's commander is in some danger over here because, you know, he's already dropping below half health. Freshy's commander is in the area though, so together Saipier and Freshy should have no trouble dealing with those. However, she needs to be extremely careful, already dropping to 3000 health, gain a rank of veterancy, so we won't be getting another anytime soon. Oh my god, 700 health, 500 health. Oh no, 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 you gotta move 200 health. Oh my lord, he's still surviving somehow. Freshy is running for some reason. Freshy, you gotta support this guy. Look at him, he's got 40 health, 20 health, 40, holy shit, he's surviving by the skin of his teeth. Oh my goodness. Freshy, yeah, of course, Saipier is immediately yelling at Freshy in chat. Well, I'd be yelling too, to be honest, because that was way too close for comfort. Oh my lord. I'm pretty sure Saipier at this point has to go for like a nano repair or a shield upgrade in order to boost the health of his commander. Tex, meanwhile, pounding the front lines of Sovietpride, but you know, those commanders are quite evenly matched because both of them have got gun for themselves. BlueDocking is coming around also, as well as Maximus, so there is currently a parity in commanders, but not in upgrades. Keep in mind, Maximus has the fabled Aeon double gun, which, you know, causes your commander to shoot not only as fast as other opposing commanders, but also the Aeon gun commander has increased range in comparison to the gun upgrades of rival factions. So the fabled Aeon sniper comm will be advancing, and I am sure Tex is extremely unhappy about that, especially considering Blue's commander has nothing. And oh my goodness! I totally missed that. Saipier runs in and draws with Orb. Both of the commanders destroy each other immediately, almost immediately into the game. 10 minutes have passed and already we've got our first casualties on both sides. So yes, the former base of Saipier is now transferred to Freshy, while the base of whoever that was, Orb, right, yes, the base of Orb gets transferred to Rowan. Immediately Orb yells at Rowan, who is, you know, has plenty of stuff to do himself. Both, yes, Rowan and TheWreck are engaging in the middle. Rowan's commander is technically more powerful, having both gun and nano. However, it's already below half health, so it does need to be slightly careful. There is no Tech 2 as of yet, but whenever that comes around, yes, Rowan's commander does in fact need to be extremely careful. He has his own Tech 2 now with some sparky Tech 2 field engineers, or combat engineers I should say, as well as some shield generators to protect his commander, which is very nice timing of that. He's also pushing through the middle, destroying the former base of Saipier. I am sure Saipier had to say something about that. However, it should be noted that, yes, there are Mongeese now on the way from Freshy, and those can take care of the artillery and tanks really easily as long as they are microed, you know. If Mongeese aren't microed at all, they just die instantly, but if they are microed properly, they can destroy a seemingly infinite amount of tanks and artillery with no casualties whatsoever. We'll see though if Freshy makes good use of them, considering he also has to manage his own economy. He has now completed Tech 3 Air, so at 12 minutes into the game, we've got both players completing their, both air players, I should say, completing their Tech 3 Air upgrades. So now we'll have air superiority fighters and scouts and whatnot on both sides. BlueDocking is rooted in place. He is now going for the fabled Aeon sniper comm as well, but it's taking it a step further because he is also going for a shield upgrade to make the commander even more powerful in comparison to Maximus. Tex is getting surrounded by the units of Maximus, however, in an interesting twist. Well, yes, by the units of Maximus from one side and from the commander of Sovietpride from the other side. And look at what's coming for him. Those mercies, those guided missiles from Maximus already have Tex's name written on them, and they are about to collide with him. We'll see. Yes, I think it's going to be enough, and there he goes. Tex, the highest rated player in the match, is out at 13 minutes. Destroyed by the mercy guided missiles of Maximus. So yes, Maximus is in fact working with both Tech 2 Air. Well, I was gonna say both Tech 2 Air and land, but he clearly has no Tech 2 land. He's just relying on his commander to do the hurting against the enemy land units. Yeah, I'm sure Freshy isn't too happy about that already. You know, not the highest rated player in the game, and your highest rated player has just died, and now you have to command a massive land force in conjunction with your air. He does seem to have found a great target. He has destroys a Tech 2 power generator and a Tech 2 mass extractor with a strike bomber as well as a whole bunch of engineers, but now the bomber will accomplish no more. It's hard to say if it's paid off. It probably hasn't. Well, I mean, it will freeze, you know, Sovietpride's power production.
Nope.
Actually, never mind, he's completely fine. But yes, that was a major blow to his build power. That is the one thing you can say for sure. The transition to Tech 2 has fully been completed on the northern side of the map for both TheWreck as well as Rowan. TheWreck is now working on... Yes, TheWreck has now completed his own nano repair, because yeah, he's now at a disadvantage against the Rowan's commander. Rowan does need to be kind of careful, you know, not to let the commander stray too far away, because if he does, those Tech 2 tanks will swarm him and kill him, you know, in no time whatsoever. Alright, so the former base of Tex has now been transferred to Blue, who will now be in charge of producing Ilshevos, as well as, you know, other cool stuff that the Seraphim can do. Like the sniper bots, for example, which I'm pretty sure you will be making eventually, because, you know, those snipers, of course Aeon have their own snipers, but the Seraphim snipers I think are usually considered the better option, because, you know, they're stationary mode, which increases their DPS quite highly indeed. And yes, you can see Tex is actually telling Blue to go for snipers, because yeah, he feels like the Seraphim snipers, I guess, are superior to the Aeon snipers. I have no horse in this race, I can't really tell you which one of them is better. But yes, it should be noted that, you know, while TheWreck is facing Rowan in the middle, Rowan has almost double the mass output of TheWreck, yeah, almost 200, while TheWreck is working at 100. And so far as we can see, this advantage should only keep mounting. This might change slightly because Freshy is now running in with his Titans that he produced from Saipier's former base. The Titans, however, are running by, you know, they are ignoring the Ilshevos as well as the former base of Orb, and are walking further towards, hopefully, I guess he's trying to find more vulnerable mass extractors to destroy that won't have troops near them. Yes, the Tech 3 air clouds are of course accumulating for both Freshy and Quasor. No surprises there whatsoever. Percival assault bots are coming out from Rowan. These two Percivals are completely doomed, however, because they are facing both the commander and a massive wave of Tech 2 land spam, so not very well executed by Rowan so far. He must be microing something else in the meantime, like trying to get his commander to not die. Kind of important when you're playing this game called Supreme Commander. The commander of BlueDocking, being outfitted with both double gun and shield, rampaging across the front line, chasing away massive armies from both Sovietpride and Maximus, as you do. You know, that's what a field commander is supposed to do, instill fear in your opponents, causing their massive armies to retreat. Yes, both Rowan and TheWreck will now continue upgrading their economy. And of course, try to pump out as many Percivals as they can. For now, it doesn't seem like TheWreck is too keen on those Percivals. I don't think he has a single one yet. In fact, it looks like he's only now transitioning to Tech 3 land, which is interesting. You know, Rowan definitely has an advantage on that. Can't use it too well though, because, you know, the commander of TheWreck is on the front line and will quickly shut down any incursions by either Titans or Percivals. It looks like Maximus has decided to also go for shield, just like Blue. Keep in mind this is the first shield upgrade, this isn't the double shield. You know, the fabled Aeon double shield that gives you like over 20,000 hit points. I actually want to check right now. Let me see, the double shield gives you 25,000 health points in total, but no, this is the first shield upgrade, not the massive one that comes in later. Nobody goes for double shielding in the early game, just like nobody goes for double nano on a Seraphim commander. It looks like TheWreck is trying to fortify the middle position. The fighters from Quasor are flying in. They are trying to attack the commander with Corsairs. There are clearly not enough Corsairs for that though, only 4. And it looks like Quasor might be in some trouble because the air from Freshy is now in position. The Corsairs get annihilated instantly, and Quasor's air is not going to fare much better as most of his fighters are already shot down. And it looks like Freshy will completely clean this one up and destroy all of the fighters of Quasor. That is not a good look right there. Not only do Team 1 have a sort of an economic advantage because, you know, 2 of their players are working with multiple bases, but also they have air now as well. So Team 2 needs to come up with something and come up relatively quickly because, you know, this is right now they are at a bit of a disadvantage. Of course, yes, as I say that, I can see that Team 1 are almost at 600 mass per second while Team 2 are at 450 in total. Most, of course, being of the economy being carried by Freshy, who, you know, is only producing fighters for now and not much else. He is pumping out some Percivals and some Titans in the middle, but those engagements haven't currently resulted in much of anything. There were some Titans that reached the mass extractors of the, you know, the halfback mass extractors of Rowan, but it looks like the Titans got cleaned up and the mass extractors are already being rebuilt. So Rowan will still have an overwhelming economic advantage against TheWreck on his own flank. TheWreck is asking Freshy to pause air for some reason. I'm guessing he lacks the energy. Well, yes, that will happen when you've got so many Tech 2 and Tech 3 factories working overtime with basically no generators. I can't even see if... Oh, never mind, yeah, there are like 3 Tech 2 power generators for TheWreck, but he's clearly power stalling super heavily. Well, not anymore. I guess he has completed something, which is nice. Now, yeah, he needs to be really careful with that because his commander does partially rely on having a shield, and there are so many Percivals in the area now that, yeah, one moment of lapse in judgment could cause him to die. On the left flank, we've got engagements happening, you know, here and there. Both Sovietpride and Maximus are currently failing to stop BlueDocking, as the army of Sovietpride is about to walk into a trap of a whole bunch of Utoshalas built by the engineers of Blue. It looks like, you know, they've reconsidered and are now retreating. Blue is trying to make a run by on the left flank on the southwestern corner, but it looks like they will quickly get shut down by the opposing Percivals, as well as supporting units such as artillery and Tech 2 tanks. There we go. Those are called Tech 2 tanks, or pillars, more precisely. It looks like TheWreck is still pushing against Rowan, realizing that, you know, Rowan is only working with Percivals, and you can't possibly pump out that many Percivals to stop that many Tech 2 tanks. It looks like more Percivals are on the way, though, and, you know, ultimately they can kite those pillars to death. That is not a very hard thing to do. Percivals from TheWreck himself are getting mercilessly mauled, pounded into the dust, because, you know, Rowan simply has a Percival advantage as we speak. He's also working on a Fat Boy, almost halfway done by now. That Fat Boy could very easily tip the scales in their little standoff, especially considering, yeah, TheWreck is currently working on nothing of the sort. He is kind of catching up on the economy, but, you know, he's only barely above 200 mass per second, while the Rowan is now working at on 400, over 400, and that could change now that, you know, there are Percivals invading from Freshy, once again targeting the mass outputs and the production facilities of Rowan. He's got plenty of Othum tanks producing in the middle, though. Those Othums could very well put a stop to these Percivals, but they need to not stand around, but instead to hurry up and join, or catch up to these Percivals, I should say. The artillery of Blue still getting chased away by the Percivals on the left flank, or on the western flank, we should say. Nothing special there. Interestingly enough, though, Sovietpride is investing quite a bit into those Tech 3 mobile missile launchers of the UEF, the Spearheads. It looks like he is pumping them out of some factories, and yeah, it looks like there are 5 more of them queued up from at least one. And yeah, basically pretty much all of the factories of Sovietpride are working on those Spearheads. So that's going to be interesting to witness. Can the Spearheads break the firebase of the combined Aeon and Seraphim tech? Or will they fail miserably, because, you know, there must be a reason we don't see them that frequently. Restorer gunships are now coming out from Maximus, so yes, Maximus has in fact also been producing Tech 3 the whole time. Although there's just some restorers, and they will clean up those Percivals, but not before Percivals destroy 5 Tech 3 mass extractors of Rowan, bringing him all the way down to 300 from 400, and now TheWreck is definitely catching up to him. Now that could change once the Fat Boy, reaches the front line. For now, though, it looks like the Fat Boy is still quite a ways away, so TheWreck naturally has time to respond and start working on his own Fat Boy. Doesn't seem like he can afford, never mind, he can definitely afford that. Needs to get more engineers working on that ASAP. Also probably a good idea to reclaim the Tech 1 power generators, just saying. I don't think I should be saying that those players are more than willing to, or more than capable of doing that themselves. Just a little friendly jab for people who don't understand. The restorers of Maximus do get deleted by Freshy, who is still leading on air in comparison to Quasor. In fact, if we take a look here, well, he's barely leading. It's 87 air units versus 83 for Quasor. For all we know, they could have the exact same amount of fighters, but just the difference could be just scouts and transports and whatnot. But it is enough to stop the restorers. It looks like the Tech 3 Seraphim HQ of Rowan has in fact been destroyed, because I can't see it anywhere. Yeah, there we go. There's only Tech 1 factory here and a support Tech 3 factory here. So yes, Rowan hasn't in fact lost his Seraphim Tech 3 headquarters, which could, bring him some trouble, because he can no longer produce those Othum tanks or snipers or shields to stop the advancing Percivals. But the Percivals currently don't seem to be too interested in advancing any further. They will just hang back instead. The Fat Boys now start pounding the opposing Percivals. There are so many Tech 1 land factories built right on the front line by TheWreck, which will now all get demolished by the incoming Percivals and the Fat Boy. And yes, for now it looks like TheWreck will be pushed back, because there is no way he can muster anything to destroy this Fat Boy. Once his own gets done, that's a different story, but for now all of his main forces have to fall back. There is not much left for them to do. BlueDocking, meanwhile, building the fire base further and further, now accumulating snipers just like Tex advised him to do. Seraphim snipers in combination with Aeon Harbingers, a very interesting combination to witness, and also of course Seraphim Tech 3 shields. It looks like he will try to attack now, which might actually be fairly successful, because Sovietpride has built so many spearheads, and spearheads are completely useless in close combat. As you can clearly see, they get completely demolished by the opposing snipers. Should be really careful with the snipers, though. You really don't want those snipers to get fired upon by the enemy Janus bombers. That'll end them real quick. Meanwhile, strategic bombers out from Freshy are flying out, probably to destroy the opposing Fat Boy of Rowan. However, Freshy himself needs to be careful, because his base is now being targeted by a satellite, a Novax defense satellite that has been built by Rowan in this base. Rowan is in fact now working on a second one now as we speak, while the first one is already causing some serious damage to Freshy's base. Already destroyed one generator. Looks like it will now be targeting another. And I'm not sure if Freshy can build the shields fast enough to protect himself from that. The Fat Boy, yes, the Fat Boy does get demolished by the strategic bombers. Now an air fight is breaking out between Tex and Freshy. However, there is a twist, because now Maximus joins in as well, and Freshy's fighters, for the first time in the game, are forced to retreat, as his base is still getting destroyed by the incoming satellite. The shield generator does get pulverized, and so does the power generator. He doesn't even manage to reclaim it, which, by the way, one neat trick you can do if your power generators are getting attacked. You can start reclaiming them. If the generator is destroyed while it's being reclaimed, it won't explode like it otherwise would. Looks like Freshy was too busy building a shield and didn't realize, or didn't manage to do it in time, and now his entire air grid is threatened and almost gone, actually. TheWreck is now coming out with a second Fat Boy, while the first Fat Boy is still rampaging. The tides have completely turned on the Wreck versus Rowan fight. TheWreck is now actually overtaken Rowan in terms of mass income, leaving him in the dust with 500 versus 300, or 340 I should say. However, there are Corsairs now from Quasor, who has secured air superiority. Now decides it's the time to produce Corsairs, or similar, land to ground units. It looks like they will be enough to clean up the Fat Boy. The Fat Boy has nowhere to run. It is covered by a whole bunch of shields, and there are now Cougars coming in, but I feel like it's a little bit too late. Yes, especially with even more Corsairs showing up. So that's the end of the first Fat Boy. Another one is on the way. It remains to be seen if that can survive. On the left flank, on the western flank, as I keep failing to say properly, it looks like the invading snipers and harbingers were in fact cleaned up and brought back. I'm sure you saw that one happening on the minimap. Not even any experimentals from Sovietpride or Maximus involved. Just the power of the Percivals was enough to push them back. Freshy decides to give up because he feels like he's had enough and just control Case out of the game, with the base being now transferred to TheWreck. So what have we got going on for us? We've got TheWreck and BlueDocking alone versus 4 players on the enemy team with 2 satellites drilling the base of TheWreck into oblivion. And not only that, Rowan is now also working on a Duke. Yes, a Tech 3 artillery installation. Of course, as everybody knows, Tech 3 artillery installations work brilliantly together with satellites, because the satellites are like scalpels while the artillery are like hammers. And together, scalpels and hammers, or saws and hammers, can achieve great things. A Galactic Colossus out from BlueDocking, now keeping the enemy forces at bay, but it is about to get matched with an opposing Fat Boy from Sovietpride. So the situation is still not quite resolved. The Spearheads are trying their best to shoot at the opposing Zethuis, which is failing miserably because you know what? Spearheads are only good at hitting Spearheads are only good at hitting immobile units. There you go. Pull yourself together, buddy. We're still not done here. The Fat Boy is, of course, a much more effective weapon against those Zethuis. Pretty much a hard counter. You know, they make perfect targets for the Fat Boy because they get one shot, and every shot from the Fat Boy destroys, multiple Zethuis at once. Yes, all of them have been killed. However, there is now Yethiltha joining the Galactic Colossus, and if the Fat Boy goes anywhere near those, it will get insta-gibbed. The Janus bombers, of course, do precisely nothing against the Yethiltha. The Percivals might do slightly more, but the Yethiltha can kite them, it outranges them, at least from what I remember. The satellites are somehow still failing to penetrate the shields of TheWreck. I have no idea how that is happening, but yes, that is in fact happening. And even more so, it looks like there is yet another Fat Boy pushing in from TheWreck, and this Fat Boy will also get destroyed, except this time not just by Corsairs, but also by enemy restorers out from Maximus. Of course, the fighters from Quasor guarding the perimeter to not allow any opposing fighters to interfere, but there aren't really any fighters to work with because, most of TheWreck's air grid has been destroyed. Most of Freshy's air grid has been destroyed. TheWreck is still working hard to rebuild that, it looks like. Well, mostly just producing engineers now. I'm sure he will rebuild that eventually, but yes, for now, he needs to be extremely careful. However, it looks like the Percivals from TheWreck, even despite the Fat Boy being destroyed, the Percivals are actually pounding the base of Rowan, destroying a power generator, destroying an anti-nuke nearby, and it looks like they will destroy yet another generator, and they aren't showing any signs of stopping, so Rowan calls it quits and actually control Case out of the game. My lord, the Duke is down, the Duke will never be finished, the satellites also get destroyed, and the Percivals are still not done yet. There is another large group of Percivals supported by shields coming in, and Rowan's base will very soon be in ruins. I have no idea, honestly. I don't understand why the restorers aren't attacking, but the reason is actually that the base of Sovietpride is just as threatened as the base of Rowan, as both the Colossus and the Yethiltha have been destroyed now. But as the Colossus collapses, it will take a few more factories with it, and that is also a serious blow to Sovietpride's production and economy. Now only working with a measly 140 mass per second. There is yet another Yethiltha coming up from Blue, cleaning up all of the spam that has been left behind by Maximus. So yes, it looks like even though there were only 2 players on Team 1 against Team 2, they are still somehow managing to survive and even persevere and even flourish in the face of the enemy. An offensive satellite from TheWreck now, attacking the base of Quasor, threatening the enemy air grid. It looks like Quasor can probably put up some shields in time, and he's also put out a Soul Ripper now. So Team 2 definitely has the air superiority still. The question is though, is that enough? Because they are being now sieged by the opposing satellite. Another satellite has now been completed. by TheWreck. It looks like somebody was trying to make an assault on the positions of TheWreck on his main base, trying to destroy the satellites. It looks, by the wreckages, it looks like those are actually restorer gunships. Yes, so Maximus tried to send his restorers against the base of TheWreck, but it was not successful. And not only that, he donated some mass. TheWreck is now working on his third Novax, and his Percival showed no signs of stopping. After dealing with the base of Rowan, which is completely in ruins now, it's basically history, they are still advancing. The Restorer is completely failing to stop them. They are now threatening the main base of Quasor. Quasor's base has already been ruined by the enemy satellite though, and Sovietpride decides he's had enough and quits. There you go, Sovietpride is gonna blow up in the middle of Maximus's base. And it looks like Quasor isn't gonna fare much better as he walks towards a suspiciously large group of Percivals, or I should say a threateningly large group, and his commander stands absolutely no chance because he has no upgrades. Pop goes TheWreck, and now it's only Maximus versus Blue and TheWreck versus their combined efforts. It looks like he still has got a Fat Boy, which will get destroyed by an incoming Ythotha. He does have a Tsar, which is going in some random direction. I honestly don't understand what this Don't is supposed to accomplish, because it's going God knows where. The Fat Boy is destroyed by the Ythotha. His Soul Ripper is trying to deal with the Percivals. The Soul Ripper that he's of course inherited from Quasor. It looks like the Percivals aren't too phased though, because there are just so many of them. You can destroy one or two, but that won't allow you to stop them completely. Strategic bombers are coming out to help with that. The satellites are now threatening completely demolishing the air grid of Maximus. Only the HQ left now, and even that is gone with another blast from a couple more generators. So now even his air grid is gone, and his commander has come out to face the opposing Ythotha, which will be the final mistake it ever does. Goodbye! And with that, the game is over. Team 1 pulling one of the most epic comebacks you've probably recently seen. In the face of imminent death, 2 players versus 4, bringing it back and completely not only destroying the opposing players, but completely demolishing their bases as well. Alright, so that's it for the game. I hope you enjoyed this wonderful match that we've just witnessed, that was played and was being watched as well, using the Forged Alliance Forever client. So yes, if you do enjoy, do consider liking, subscribing if you already aren't, and maybe even leaving a comment with feedback, which I always appreciate. For now though, this is all I've got for you for today, so goodbye, take care everybody, and I hope to see you soon again on the battlefields of the future.